Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Welcome everyone in today's class for the first intermediate grade. Our textbook is Super Goal 2 and today we will cover Unit 2, What's School Like, Form, Meaning and Function. This lesson will be presented by me, teacher Mazen Al-Harbi, and the sign language by Mr. Saleh Al-Ujan. So let's begin. Our objectives in today's lesson, we hope that at the end of this lesson, you will be able to apply intensifiers and also classify adjectives according to their endings. So before we do this, let's make a quick revision on our last lesson. Our last lesson, we had writing and project, and we had answered 4 different writing exercises. The first one was about this boy to complete the chart with notes about the physical appearance, character, and interest. And we gave an example of this boy. We write down what is his character in terms his appearance in terms of his hair and his eyes. We said this example, he has black eyes and brown hair. And also for his height, we said he is short and thin. About his character, we imagine that we know this person and we said that he is friendly and his interests are that he likes football and video games. The other exercise we had last time is to answer those 3 questions. And we said that although these questions may seem similar, but they have different meaning. For example, the first one, what does he look like? This question is looking for appearance, looking for answer that relates to appearance. The second one, what is he like? This answer or this question looking for answer about a character. And the third one, what does he like? This question looking for answer about interests. So all of these questions may have similar words in them, but they all looking for something different. Also, we had in the writing corner, we talked about that how in every sentence we have subject and verb, and sometimes in some sentences where we have 2 verbs, we don't have to mention or to repeat the subject. For example, it says here, when a sentence has 1 subject and 2 verbs connected with and, it is not necessary to repeat the subject. For example, we can say, Fahad is athletic and plays football. We don't have to say Fahad is athletic and Fahad plays football. No, in this one, we can only use the connector, which is and use the verb immediately. The other example we have is, he is tall and has brown eyes. He is tall and has brown eyes. So we don't have to mention the subject twice when we have 2 verbs in a sentence. Also, the third exercise we had last time, which is this reading text. We said that someone is writing about his cousin. What we need to do is to read it and to try to answer the same questions. What does he look like? The appearance. And what is he like? The character. And what does he like? The interests. So we have read this text and we have answered them, and also we use colors to differentiate. So for example, the color blue was for answers that relates to appearance. The color red was to answer a question relates to character, and the color purple was to looking for answer relates to the interests. And the last one, we said that try to make a chart like this one and to interview maybe a classmate or a family member or maybe a friend about those questions. So just write down his appearance, his physical appearance, eyes, the color of his eyes and hair, and also his height and build, and what is he like, his character, and what does he like, his interest, and make similar charts as well for other friends. So now, as for the project, we said that in group you try to make an advertisement for a school club. And we gave an example of the last reading text we had on school clubs. We said that you can write an advertisement to make people join your club, maybe a science club or an art club or a sport club. just write down the activities that students may expect when they join the club that you joined. So now, as for today we're going to talk about intensifiers. And what do you mean by intensifiers? Intensifiers are words that we use them before adjectives. And why do we use them? We use them to make adjectives stronger, to make adjectives stronger. Now I'm going to show you some examples. So we use adverbs like very, quiet, really, pretty, and extremely. And why do we use them? We use them to make adjectives stronger. These adverbs are normally placed before adjectives. So have a look at the first sentence here, or the first example. Ali is very tall. Ali is very tall. The other one, science is pretty interesting. Faisal is quite short. So these are the bolded words. These are intensifiers. And what do the intensifier do in a sentence? They make the adjective stronger. So, for example, Ali is not a regular, he's not only tall, he is very tall. So it's not a regular height. And here also when we say science is pretty interesting, so science is not a normally interesting. No, they are pretty interesting. So this is to make the adjective stronger. Also, Faisal is quite short. It means he's not regular short. No, he is quite short. So this is this is the job of the intensifier. They make the adjectives stronger. So, and you should remember that we always use those intensifier before an adjective. So here, in the first one, the adjective is tall, and we use the intensifier before the adjective. Here, the adjective is interesting. We use the intensifier before. And in the last one, the adjective is short, and we use the intensifier before short. Let's read more examples. Ali is an extremely active student. Science is really interesting subject. Faisal is quite an intelligent student. So here we have the same. So Ali is not only an active student, he is extremely active. So this is to make the adjective active more stronger, or to make it stronger. And also, science is really interesting subject. So science is not only interesting, it is really interesting. So those intensifier makes the adjective stronger. And also, Faisal is quite an intelligent student. So Faisal, he is intelligent, but not any kind of intelligent. He's quite intelligent. So these intensifiers, as we said, make those adjectives active, interesting, intelligent, makes them stronger. So when you listen or when you read those intensifier, you know what the reader is trying to convey in those sentences. But here I want you to have a look at the last one. Faisal is quite an intelligent student. Actually, with quiet, this particular intensifier, we can use it before articles. For example, we can say the test is quite difficult. The test is quite difficult. So here we have quiet, and here we have the adjective. The other one, the lesson is quite interesting. The lesson is quite interesting. So here we have the adjective, and here we have the intensifier quite. And the last one, the boy or that boy is quite tall. So here we have the adjective tall, and here we have the intensifier. So what I want you to know here, that we can use the adjective or the intensifier quiet before articles. For example, we can say it's quite a difficult test. It's quite a difficult test. So we can use quiet before an article and then an adjective. Also, it's quite an interesting lesson. It's quite an interesting lesson. So here we use it before the article an. And also, he's quite a tall boy. So here we have the intensifier, and here we have the article a and the adjectives. So not all the intensifier can become before adjectives. No, we can use them, especially with this one, we can use them before articles, not only adjectives. Now, I want you to have a look at the second part of our lesson today. Today we're going to talk about adjectives that ends with ed and that it ends with ing and what is the difference between them. So, on your books, have a look at the adjectives that you have or the pictures that you have that describes different feelings. For example, here the first one, here we have a group of adjectives that ends in ed that describe how a person feels or how he reacts. So let's read those adjectives and see what actually each of these feelings mean. So the first one is excited. Excited. And usually a person is excited when he hears something or when he hears happy news. The second one is frightened. Frightened. Frightened, it means he's scared of something that makes him feel insecure. And also confused. Confused. Confused, when a person is confused, he doesn't know what to do. He is confused. And the fourth one, worried. Worried. Worried, it means he is afraid, he thinks a lot about something, maybe a test, maybe a homework. So this is what they mean by worried. Here we have tired. Tired. Tired means that he feels exhausted, he is not active, he is tired. He can't do or perform well. Next we have bored. Bored. Bored means that when a person doesn't have anything to do. So no activities, nothing he can do, so he is bored. He's looking for something to do. Next we have annoyed. Annoyed. So annoyed here means that he's very angry, he's very aggressive, something make him unhappy. So this is why he is annoyed. The last one we have interested. Interested. Interested means that he likes something, he wants to learn more about that something that he is interested in. And it comes from the word interests, when we say that, what are your interests, in the previous lesson. So all of these feelings all of these feelings are adjectives that ends with e and d. So let's try to take a couple of them just to explain why or when those feelings could happen. For example, excited. When do you think a person could be excited? Maybe he could be excited for graduation. When he about to finish school, he of course will be excited. And also he may be excited when he goes to the amusement park to try different games and try different plays. Also frightened. When a person could be frightened, or why the person will be frightened, because maybe he saw a snake, maybe he saw a spider, or maybe there is a storm coming. So this is why he is frightened. He is afraid. The third one is confused. So when a boy or a person could be confused, maybe, for example, when he wants to study for an exam, maybe a math exam. Maybe he do not understand math, so this is why he is confused. He doesn't know what to do. He is confused. So this is the first part of our adjectives today that ends with ed. Now let's have a look at the second part of the adjectives, and those are the adjectives that ends with ing. And we said that we have adjectives that ends in ing that describe what causes a feeling or reaction. So the adjectives that ends with ing, actually adjectives to describe the reason, to tell why this happened. For example, we have shown you before that those feelings, excited, frightened, confused, may be because of this reason. So a person could be excited because of the graduation. A person could be frightened because of a snake, and he could be confused because of a math test. So let's take the first one. Excited because of graduation. Why? Because graduation is exciting. Graduation is exciting. You see, this one, excited, we describe a person, how he feels. And in here, exciting ends with ing. We describe a graduation, the cause of the excitement. Also, when we say the person is frightened because of a snake, then we can say that snake is frightening. The snake is frightening. So here we have changed the adjectives. Instead of ending with ed, now it ends with ing. The last example, we can say that he is confused about a math test. We can say here that math is confusing. Confusing ends with ing. So we use the adjectives that ends with ed to describe people, to describe how people feels. And we use adjectives that ends with ing to describe what caused that feeling. As we have here, graduation is exciting, the snake is frightening, and math is confusing. And to sum it up and try to summarize it, it's very important to learn this. Adjectives that ends in ed describe how a person feels. How a person feels. So adjectives ends with ed is about people feeling. An adjective that end in ing describe what causes a feeling or reaction. So adjectives that ends in ing, those adjectives describe what is the reason, what are the causes of such a feeling. So it's very important to learn this as we are now about to answer this interesting questions. So this question or this exercise, we will see similar adjectives, but it differs. If that adjective describing people's feeling, then we'll choose the adjective that ends with ed. And if that adjective describe the reason for that feeling, then we will choose adjectives that ends in ing. So let's read this question together. So exercise A, circle the correct adjectives. Number one, we are really excited or exciting because our team is winning the football game. So now, before we choose the answer, we have to think, what are we actually looking for? The answer said, or the question said, the sentence, we are really. So they are people talking about themselves. We are. And since we are talking about people, what kind of adjective we would use? Should we use the adjective that ends with ed or the adjectives that ends with ing? What do you think? Very good. Yes, we would choose the adjectives that ends with ed because the adjectives that ends with ed is about people's feeling. Describe how a person or what a person actually feel. So number two, Sabah feels extremely tired or tiring, so she wants to stay home and relax. Sabah. So now we're talking about Sabah. And since we're talking about a person here, so what is the adjective we should choose? Excellent. Now we would choose tired. Why? Because it's adjectives. An adjective that ends with ed. And we agreed that any adjectives that describe what a person feels, that adjectives must ends with ed. Number three, this math problem is quite confused or confusing. Can you please help me with it? So now what should we, the kind of adjective are we looking for? Is it an adjective to describe a reason or adjective to describe a people's feeling? Very good. Yes, it is adjectives that describe a cause. So the math problem is quite confusing. So this adjective is not describing a people's feeling, it describes a cause or a reason. Number four, I am never bored or boring in the science class. I am never bored or boring. So what should we choose here? Very good. Here we choose bored because we're talking about a person's feeling. The experiments are very interested or interesting. What do you think? Now we're not talking about people, now we're talking about causes. So what should we choose here? The experiments are very interested or very interesting. Excellent. This one we would choose interesting. The experiments are very interesting. Now let's move to the other sentences. Number 5. You look extremely worried or worrying. Is anything wrong? So now we're talking about a person. So what should we choose? Very good. We choose worried. You look extremely worried. And number 6. The teacher is annoyed or annoying because the students aren't paying attention. So what should we choose here since we're talking about a teacher, since we're talking about a person? Very good. Here we would choose annoyed. Number 7. I don't like to watch frightened or frightening films on TV. I prefer to watch comedies. So here we are describing films, so we would choose frightening, not frightened. The last one we have is history isn't bored or boring. In fact, it's quite a fascinated or a fascinating subject. Let's start with the first half. History isn't bored or boring. What do you think? Excellent. In this one, we would choose boring because we're not describing a person here, we're describing a cause. So it's not boring, in fact, it's quite a fascinating subject. Here is also, we're not describing a person's feeling. So here you have the answers of this interesting exercise. Now, let us move on to the other exercise. The other exercise we have, I want you to use the words that you can see in front of you to make sentences using those intensifiers. For example, the first one is football, very, exciting, sport. So this word, I want you to use it and in a full sentences and putting each one in its right place. So the sentence will be, for example, football is a very exciting sport. So let's do number 1. Math, quite difficult subject. So here we want to describe math as a difficult subject using the intensifier quite. So the sentence will be, math is quite a difficult subject. Now number 2. Maha, really talented artist. Now we want to describe Maha as a talented artist using the intensifier really. So the sentence will be, Maha is a really talented artist. Number 3. Fahad, extremely athletic student. Here also we want to say that Fahad is an athletic student using the intensifier extremely. So the sentence will be, Fahad is an extremely athletic student. Number 4. History, pretty, interesting subject. Here also we want to use to describe history as an interesting subject using the intensifier pretty. So we would say history is a pretty interesting subject. The last one we have, number 5, Mr. Parks, quite strict teacher. Here also we want to say that Mr. Park is a strict teacher using the intensifier quite. So the sentence will be, Mr. Park is quite a strict teacher. So here you have the answers of the second exercise. As for our last exercise for today is, I would like you to work with a partner, talk about school subject and school friends, and use the adjectives from this unit and the adverbs or the intensifiers, very, quite, really, pretty, and extremely. So I want you to do 2 things. To use the adjectives that we just showed you and also to use the intensifiers. And you can make sentences like this. The first one, I think math is an extremely difficult subject. I think math is an extremely difficult subject. So here you use the intensifier. And the last one, Ahmed is a really intelligent student. Here you also we use the intensifier. You can also do more. You can also use the adjectives that we have showed you. Either the one that ends with ed, talks about people's feeling, or the one that ends with ing to talk about the reasons. And now we have reached the end of our lesson. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you next time.